Hey there, want to make your voice heard at a Board of Supervisors meeting? We're all ears. Here's how you can get involved. First, hop online and look at the agendas. This will give you the scoop on what's coming up before the board. Each agenda item includes a brief description of the issue, the recommendations, and potential impacts. If you need more detail, check out the detailed reports online. Those are called board letters. Then, decide if you want to speak at Tuesday's general legislative session or Wednesday's land use session. You'll have 3 opportunities to have your say. Let's start with non-agenda public comment. This is your chance to talk about things that aren't on the agenda, but try and keep your topic related to county government. For non-agenda public comments, you can speak at either the Tuesday or Wednesday session, but not both. So pick your day accordingly. And keep in mind, the board can't act on the spot. They'll refer your comments to the Chief Administrative Officer, who will look into the issue. Last thing, the board will hear from the first 10 speakers, 5 in person and 5 by phone at the beginning of the session. Then all the remaining speakers will get their chance to speak after the discussion items. During the consent agenda, the board handles a bunch of routine items with 1 vote. If you want to comment on an item, keep it simple. For example, I'm John Doe speaking on item 5, and I agree with approving the contract. Discussion items are the main event where the board debates before making a decision. They'll hear from supporters first, then those against. And if you have documents, hand them to the deputy clerk when it's your turn to speak at the podium. If you want to speak, you need a speaker slip. White slips are for non-agenda comments. Turn these in before we hear from the first speaker. Green or pink slips are for specific items. Get these in before public comment begins. And please turn in your speaker slip early. If you don't turn it in before it's due, you won't be able to speak to the board. Now, you get 2 minutes to speak, but if lots of people want to talk, it might get cut to 1 minute. So, you might want to consider writing 2 sets of comments, one for 2 minutes, another one for 1. That way, if time's cut, you won't be scrambling. There's also a countdown clock at the podium to keep you on track. Once you're at the podium, stay on topic. Stick to the current agenda item. If you stray off topic, you might get a gentle nudge to get back to the point. Keep your comments related to the agenda item's recommendations because that's what the board is relying on to make a decision. Also, speak directly to the board. They're the ones making the decision. When your time's up, it's up. Overstaying might mean getting muted or even asked to leave. Now for some ground rules. For safety, keep aisles and doorways clear. If there isn't a seat, head across the hall to room 302 or the 4th floor balcony to watch the meeting. Respect is huge. Everyone should feel heard. That means you, other speakers, and the Board of Supervisors. Disruptive behavior gets 1 warning, and after that, a deputy sheriff might show you the door. So let's keep it respectful. Your voice matters, and we want to hear from you. Remember, we're all here to make a difference.
Good morning. I will now reconvene the San Diego County Board of Supervisors meeting for the Land Use Legislative Session. Ryan, please call the roll for today's session.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. Before I call the roll, I'd like to note for the record that Supervisor Anderson is participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. With that, I will now call the roll. Supervisor Anderson.
Here.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Here.
Thank you.
So thank you. We will now turn to County Council.
I'm so sorry. And then the first item will be for Supervisor Anderson to make a statement about participating remotely and state whether anyone over the age of 18 is in the room with them, as well as the relationship to the supervisor.
Pursuant to Government Code 54953, under the provisions set forth in Assembly Bill 2449, I will be participating remotely in the February 26, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting session due to just cause for the following reason: contagious illness that prevents members from attending in person. There is no one in the room with me, 18 or otherwise.
Okay, thank you very much. We now turn to County Council for the report of actions taken in closed session yesterday.
Good morning. The Board of Supervisors met in closed session on February 25th, 2025 from 1:16 p.m. to 1:19 p.m. 3 supervisors were present. Supervisor Anderson was absent. The board took no reportable actions. End of report.
Thank you. We now proceed with non-agenda public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on the meeting agenda. The only action the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Under the board's rule, speakers can only speak once per meeting for non-agenda public communication. That would be either at yesterday's general legislative session or today's land use legislative session, but not both sessions. Speakers may select which session to address the board. To better facilitate the meeting for non-agenda public comment, we have 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers by phone, and the remainder will be heard at the close of the session. Additionally, in accordance with board rules, in order to ensure timely completion of today's agenda, for any discussion with 20 or more speakers, individuals will have 1 minute to share their opinion. As a reminder that according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are not English speaking and need interpretation and assistance may receive twice the allotted time for their comments. And a final reminder, according to the board's rules of procedures, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or do anything else that disrupts the proceedings of this meeting. If you disrupt the meeting, you will be given a warning, and after that warning, if you disrupt the meeting again, you will be directed to leave the chamber. Ryan, can you call the speakers?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 16 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 2 individuals in person and 14 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. Go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward Robert Gurman, and I believe it's Andrea Ebbing. You have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please state your name for the audio record before you begin your comments.
Robert Gurman. This is a revisit of the American lease that the Board of Supervisors approved, a couple of meetings ago. The highlight of this first slide is that according to Simply Flying, which is a trade magazine, one of several that I receive, 65 plus airports will have a one-stop transfer to Carlsbad. And they acknowledge that Carlsbad is a small airport. Please read the whole slide. 65 airports. Is that what county airports portrayed to the Board of Supervisors? I don't think so. Community benefits is the second slide. It should say for tourists, and it should say for Phoenix. I added the arrows. Look at the population. Population of the beach cities is 371,000. Population of Phoenix and the metro area surrounding Phoenix is 6 million. Tell me what county airports is focusing on. And this is the future of aviation and county airports. Lawsuit up in SeaTac, it's been going on for 4 years, but it just got approved. You talk about wasting county money, you're going to have to defend this because it's coming south. Sharks, once there's blood in the water, they will be down here big time because our airports are in valleys. And then I'm concerned about the quote that the newspaper gave to Supervisor Reamer because the FAA wasn't even here. So how could you quote the FAA? So I have concerns about what really is going on here. I mean, I don't understand it. Nobody put a gun to the Board of Supervisors' head. This is inaccurate, in my opinion. So I brought this to everybody's attention. Thank you.
Thank you. And last call for Andrea.
Good morning. My name is Andrea, and I wanted to address a budget issue that has been identified. The city is in a deficit of $258 million, of which $142 million of other pay has been identified. Other pay is not overtime. There was $145 million in overtime. When I spoke to the auditor, he was unsure what other pay was. And so I dove deeper. The county is $60 million, has paid $60 million in other pay to county employees, in addition to overtime. Desmond, $333,000 is how much he makes. Tara Lawson-Reamer, $287,000. Joel Anderson, $282,000. Davia Lynch, $332,000. Of those $60 million, $5.8 million went to San Diego District Attorney. $4.9 million went to the Public Defender's Office. Several nurses in detention facilities are making over $60,000 in other pay a year, totaling $230,000. Psychiatrists and everybody that's involved in placing addicts into rehab programs for addiction treatment, in which they're importing addicts from all over the United States to come and be filtered through this process, through the system, and everybody that plays a role in placing these people, defendants and diversion programs, gets a kickback. I believe there is a kickback program taking place in the PLEADS program, the Substance Abuse Assessment Unit, and Prop 36 treatment and forced felonies. I do not believe at all that Prop 36 was in place to protect small business. I think it was in place to protect the kickbacks from the rehab facilities for filtering addicts. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that request to speak by phone. And again, in accordance with the board's rules, we'll be hearing from the first 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Kate Ione. Supervisor Tara Lawson-Reamer is allocating $400,000 in order to inquire if we need to pay more taxes. What a waste of funds. We need funds allocated to the Department of Animal Services to bring more animal control officers to the field, provide more training to the control officers, ensure efficiency by that department. By doing this, we are not only protecting the community, but also the animals. Department of Animal Services is falling apart, and we need action now. The horses on Artesian Road need to be removed immediately. Monitoring this atrocity does nothing but perpetuate the problem and enable a hoarder. The horses and dogs are not in satisfactory conditions. When will the San Diego County take animal welfare seriously? San Diego City Council is pushing to ban the rodeo and stepping it up as it relates to animal protection. It's time for the county to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
My name is Valerie Triena of District 4. My running complaint is about the lack of resolution to a variety of animal cruelty situations due to the major problems within the Department of Animal Services. I have paid my taxes in good faith. Your end of the contract is that I get something in return for my payment. That something is a Department of Animal Services that is staffed to capacity with competent employees, a department that has equine veterinary specialists who can carry out with alacrity examinations of horses reported by the public to be starving and standing in their own feces, eating moldy hay, and suffering from the lack of protective housing. This is such a simple ask. I'm urging you to fulfill the basic requirements of a department that can alleviate the suffering of sentient beings. Your constituents demanded that the Department of Animal Services exist to directly deal with felonious behavior of humans toward non-humans. Instead, we have a dysfunctional government body that reports to you. Make it work.
Thank you. Go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Madison. I am here to raise an important concern regarding the draft EIR for the permitting of 25 potential new cannabis businesses in the unincorporated areas of the county. It is essential that we fully consider the environmental impact, specifically in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and the strong foul odors, before considering such a rapid expansion. Cannabis cultivation is an energy-intensive process. Indoor cultivation operations, which are often the norm, require massive amounts of energy to power high-intensity lighting systems, ventilation, and climate control. In fact, cannabis cultivation in California is estimated to use up to 2% of the state's total electricity, an unsustainable and alarming figure. Allowing 25 new cannabis businesses in our county would only exacerbate this issue and hinder our efforts to reduce emissions and combat climate change. Beyond cultivation, the transportation of cannabis products adds to the environmental burden. As these businesses grow, so too does the need for distribution, which typically involves long-distance travel by fossil fuel-powered vehicles. This increased transportation will lead to more traffic, air pollution, and a growing carbon footprint. And marijuana is not just like any other crop. Oranges in blossom are a wonderful fragrance, but marijuana have a horrible odor. Some people must close their windows and are unable to go outside because the odor is a problem. I have 3 kids that play outside every day. Imagine living in an area where you couldn't open your windows or let your kids play outside because of the horrible smell. And with an unlimited number of acres of grows in the proposal, many, many people could be impacted by this. Please consider whether you are truly willing to prioritize an industry that has a negative impact on our environment, especially when we are working so hard to mitigate the effects of climate change and reduce emissions across all sectors. I and many stakeholders in the unincorporated areas of the county strongly urge this board to reconsider approving the expansion of the cannabis industry in San Diego County.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
A truth regarding the February 11th meeting.
We have teenagers that may have access to nuclear code. We have a felon in office right now. We can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways. I just don't think we have time for this. I just don't think we have time for it. There's too many loose words flying around here, really, since I've been here and before.
The felon. Were you talking about Tara? That's Tara, right? Monica, your loose words lean towards full-blown nut job. But that had a nice ending that I actually agreed with when it comes to compassion for those we disagree with. But, Monica, if you really believe in compassion, why in the past didn't you tell your old friend Sean to lay off his hateful rhetoric towards myself and others? And Claudia claimed that people can't comment on the theme of an agenda item. But then Tara later said you could say anything you want about an agenda item. These contradictory messages are amazingly hypocritical, but I'm concerned that Claudia is going to later be thrown under Tara's bus, just like what happened to Nora. Then clapping became a problem for Tara about 1 hour and 41 minutes into the meeting. But before that, there was zero issue with clapping. What changed? And yesterday, Joel, do you know the difference between being sick and being disgustingly absent? How about physically sick and mentally sick? I mean, if you approve of best fire facilities in the backcountry, you've got to be sick. I'm convinced you coughed on purpose during my item 12 comment. I should have received an extra 10 seconds to speak, Tara, while Joel was choking on his SpaghettiOs. And Tara, you went on the news with your political theater again. You basically said that Trump is strong-arming the county and withholding our tax dollars. Well, how's that any different than Newsom withholding our tax dollars over his personal failed vision for homeless shelters? Maybe you should start focusing closer to home, where there's been about a 23% increase in homelessness and a 120 or maybe 1,000 increase in county craziness. About that.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Becky Rapp, and I'm here today as I'm concerned regarding the potential expansion of marijuana businesses in the backcountry. I've attended the draft EIR public engagement session, and I'm concerned that nowhere in the draft is secondhand marijuana smoke addressed. Secondhand marijuana smoke, especially in homes and around children, is toxic. A recent study conducted at UCSD sheds light on this concern, proving that in-home marijuana use significantly increases the odds of detectable levels of marijuana in children. This study, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, reveals that children living in homes where marijuana is smoked are 5 times more likely to have detectable levels of marijuana in their urine. This is alarming, as marijuana smoke is proven to have harmful chemicals similar to tobacco, including carcinogens and respiratory irritants. We know that children are especially vulnerable to the toxic effects of smoke. The home, a place meant to provide safety and security, may be where the greatest risk lies for our youngest. The reality is that children who are exposed to marijuana smoke may face significant health challenges, leading to long-term respiratory issues, developmental concerns, and even increased cancer risks. If we can decrease the amount of smoke children are exposed to, we can take a significant step towards protecting their health. This should be a priority not only for the health professionals, but also for policymakers. Much like we have adopted tobacco control strategies, we should implement similar measures for marijuana smoke. There's a critical need for education and awareness. Parents may not fully realize the extent to which secondhand marijuana smoke can affect their children, and that is why we must advocate for stronger public health campaigns.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. Again, all the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session.
Great, thank you so much. We now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda. That's items 1 and 2. All items on the consent agenda are routine and will be acted upon with one motion. Individuals can comment on the consent agenda after my colleagues pull any items they would like to for discussion. Supervisor Anderson, anything to pull or any comments to make?
Not at this time, thank you.
Supervisor Desmond?
I just have a quick question. I see there's a presentation on item 2. Is that going to be given? I just saw the PowerPoint here.
That's a backup presentation.
It's just, okay, so it's not, okay.
It's available at the board level.
Okay, it's not necessary, but I would like to make a comment on item 2. I want to thank the Department of Public Works for bringing this forward. I appreciate how this list gets developed. This is the road resurfacing list throughout the county, and it's a balanced list where we do take community input along with the physical conditions of the roads and make these lists up every year. And hallelujah, Lake Wolford Road made the list. So I almost lost a tire, I think, the last time I was on that road. But I'm glad to see that's on the list for the resurfacing, and so that road definitely needs some TLC. But thank you very much. I appreciate this, and I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Montgomery Stepp?
No need to pull anything, no comments. I will second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion with a second. Can we please go to public comment?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have we have 6 total requests to speak on the consent agenda, 1 individual in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. Any individuals that requested to speak on items on the consent agenda by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with that in-person speaker. I'd like to invite forward Andrea Ebbing. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. And again, if you could please state your name before you begin your comments.
My name is Andrea. Thank you for having me. I am just commenting on the transparency of this project and what is taking place, as I have deep concerns about the transparency and honesty of what's taking place in the county and city. As such, an FPPC complaint has been filed against Summer Steffen, Nathan Fletcher, Nancy Haley, who is the treasurer for Todd Gloria, and Haley & Co., and C. April Bowling. The committees that have been reported: Deputy Sheriff's Association, San Diego County PAC, San Diego County Gun Owners PAC, Steffen for District Attorney, all years, Nathan Fletcher for several things for all years. San Diego strong in support of Nathan Fletcher. $2 million of identical financial transactions were found in the PACs of Nathan Fletcher and Summer Steffen. Of that, $1.7 million, both campaigns, both led by 2 treasurers who are involved in 20 years of FPPC complaints and violations for every single scandal in San Diego, including Bob Filner, and every person that's ever been outed. And
Madam Vice Chair, this has
TMC Direct,
nothing to do.
Oh, it does. It does have to do the transparency.
Jim, sorry, Supervisor Desmond, please. I will defer to council, but I think that the comment seems relevant to the items, but I will defer to council. Can you please pause your time?
Right. My understanding when she started her comments was that she was framing it in a way that was relevant. Whether she goes into topics that are not related is something that can be discussed and is ultimately the acting chair's decision.
Thank you. As council said, you began well, framed, connected to the item. So please continue to stay connected to the item so we don't have concerns raised about the topicalness of your comments. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so the reason I'm so concerned is because I work with a lot of developers and builders in construction, land use, and I think it's really important that there's a level of transparency and a group of people that we can trust to approve these projects. We're trying to house residents in San Diego and not create a homeless population by getting kickbacks for the addicts we're pulling into the city and then filtering our money through these campaigns, which, by the way, $24 billion is missing, and yet we have $200 million in other pay, which is not pension, which is not overtime, which is not benefits, and that's concerning. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is Ann Riddle here. I called in to speak to consent item 1 regarding the recommendations from the Traffic Safety Committee regarding some changes to speed limits and, in the case of one, to establish an always stop at intersections. I want to thank that work. I travel one of these a lot, so I appreciated to see the change in the miles per hour, that the reduction at that site. I appreciated the statement that was made regarding how important it is that our roads be, and I'm reading from the report, be safe for all road users, and that all people have access to safe roads, and that we understand what travel patterns are out here in the unincorporated areas, and we mitigate it. One of my concerns has been out here is that I have several grandchildren now who are driving, and I'm gravely concerned about safe driving. And so I appreciate these changes, but I'm particularly concerned about impaired driving, since we know that according to healthychildren.org, more than 9% of our drivers are that age, 16 through 20, and they admit to having driven under the influence of marijuana. So we appreciate all the county can do to let our young people know that it isn't safe out on our roadways if they're driving impaired, and to remind them that marijuana use slows reaction time, impacts memory, affects coordination, and impairs skills that are essential to driving. It's important that our young adults come and go from school and work and home in a way that doesn't make it difficult for them to travel safely. And certainly driving impaired, be it alcohol, marijuana, or other drugs, really would change the way our roadways are used out here in the backcountries, and we appreciate effort.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
All aboard. I hope you had a good discussion about the Brown Act yesterday. I agree with the four-way stop inspected visibility issues due to the configuration of intersection and a fair amount of public support. Resolution 3319 amending Resolution 305 needs attention. How is it amended? If the amendment is the addition of an address, the resolution should say so right there. If there is something else amended, it should be in the resolution. Please have your lawyers look at this. Community input for sub-items 2B to 2D is not presented. These items seem to be based solely on rounding down from the average observed speed, which I think needs to be supported by community input. Why do some drivers go faster? Maybe there's a good reason. There seems to be a lot of room for doubt, and I'd appreciate more community input on these. Site approval standards seem well thought out, but should include an exception for individual circumstances, like emergencies or fire examination. So I approve of the site approval standards with amendment and sub-item 2A, although the resolutions need work. I disapprove of sub-items 2B to 2D as too one-sided and arbitrary, so I'd appreciate you removing those for later discussion or community input. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
That was super interesting to see what was happening. Anywho, you guys are never consistent, just like with this consent agenda. You are constantly moving the tack back and forth from discussion to consent to discussion to consent. It's like, which one is it? I mean, all it is about taking the speeds down. It's ridiculous. And then, getting some enforcement in there to get the money coming into, the sheriff or whatever. But it's interesting, too, to see how many roads actually need resurfacing and how, nothing is ever going to be caught up with, because there's certain things that won't be on the list that need to be on the list. And Jim was so excited, oh, this is on the list, yay! We should just be fixing all of this stuff, not hoping one day it'll get on a list to be fixed. But, with your constant, pushback against the federal government and the funding potentially, being cut because of your choices, your negligent choices, and then you're like, I don't understand why they're doing that. That's going to keep more projects from being done, and the county is actually going to suffer because of your negligence. But, hey, I guess it might fit into your whole goal of, getting everybody out of their cars, right? As long as the roads are completely shit, then who's going to want to drive, right? Then we'll just have them walk and bike, but then maybe it'll be like the city and there'll be a bunch of litigation for trips and falls and whatnot. So it's and then nothing you guys do makes sense, especially when you can't even stay consistent. Someone is off topic, someone isn't. Are they, aren't they? Who knows, right? I mean, this is just a show, like you said, Tara. You know, you do theater all day long. You sit up here and do theater, like, all day long. That's exactly what it is. And it's kind of funny because it's like, you guys get paid pretty well to act up there. So, I mean.
Noting for the record that caller was Audra. We'll go to our next caller.
Excuse me, Consuelo here. Yes, amen to everything the previous speakers just said. And wow, that's amazing how, Claudia, your tune totally changed with that speaker and her juicy information. But regarding consent calendar, I had to mention also RIP when it comes to trust. This, especially with our local people residing in office. Yeah, everything is essentially going to crumble, and we're watching it happen in real time. So with that being said, wake up, look up UN Agenda 21 if you can. If you are watching, please do yourself a favor, spread the word, because it is here, the one world government, and this is why everything is so corrupt, and it's in plain sight for the people who care. We already know, but it's so in your face. And they don't care because their time is limited, and they too know that they are going to be disposed of after they've been used to fulfill what it is that has to be fulfilled. I'm done.
Thank you. And with that, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on items on the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond and a second by Supervisor Montgomery Steppe. Before we vote, do any of my colleagues have any comments on any of these items? Okay, thank you. Please call the vote.
Thank you. And we'll be doing a voice vote since Supervisor Anderson is remote today. So Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Montgomery Steppe.
Yes.
Supervisor Desmond.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We now move on to item F, which are our discussion items. That is item 3 today. This is the notice public hearing, adopt the Valley Center Road Corridor Concept Plan and adopt the accompanying ordinance and related CEQA addendum. And this is the first reading, the second reading, unless ordinance is modified on the second reading. So we will turn to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have...
Hold on, pause.
You got it.
Supervisor Desmond seems to think there's a presentation, is that correct? Okay, great, thank you. If we could, begin with the presentation.
Good morning, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. Today's item is a long-term plan for the Valley Center Road Corridor in the area of Valley Center's general plan villages. Staff is requesting that the Board of Supervisors adopt the Valley Center Road Corridor Concept Plan and the accompanying ordinance. During today's presentation, staff will introduce the project, provide a summary of the project outreach process and major issues that were addressed. Then staff will provide an overview of components that were included in the plan to address public input, including the plan ordinance and implementation, followed by staff recommendations to adopt the plan. For reference throughout the presentation, the bottom of each slide will show the topic being presented. Valley Center is an unincorporated community of approximately 22,000 residents located northeast of the city of Escondido. Valley Center contains 2 general plan villages, a north village and a south village, which are focus areas for growth and corresponding infrastructure improvements. Valley Center Road is the main thoroughfare through the villages, and it is also frequently used by visitors for travel to destinations to the north and east, like the mountains, desert, and casinos. A few community issues and needs that guided the project include a focus on improving safety along the corridor for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists, the need for infrastructure improvements to accommodate the planned growth and increasing traffic in the villages, a desire to maintain rural character in the community while developing more of a village atmosphere, as envisioned in the Valley Center Community Plan, and a focus on fire safety and evacuation. The project is a long-term plan for improvements to Valley Center Road and its associated right-of-way in the area of the general plan villages. It is a comprehensive plan that will guide corridor improvements, including defining requirements for future projects. The plan covers the segment of Valley Center Road from the Woods Valley Road intersection in the south to the Cole Grade Road intersection in the north. The public engagement process entailed 78 public outreach events and other stakeholder meetings in varied formats. There were a wide range of viewpoints on the best solutions for the corridor, and the project team focused on finding solutions that were supported by analysis and best practices research. Some common themes of public input include the need for traffic calming measures to reduce speeding and collisions. Where there is currently no median, there were concerns about challenging left turns from stop-controlled side streets and ongoing occurrences of illegal maneuvers in the center turn lane, like passing. Many stakeholders were concerned about emergency response times and evacuation. And we heard about the need to accommodate various types of large vehicles and trailers. The project was developed through several phases of public engagement. The first phase involved establishing existing conditions and identifying existing issues and potential solutions along the corridor. Phase 2 provided various plan alternatives. Throughout development of the plan, some stakeholders supported having more roundabouts along the corridor, while other stakeholders did not support roundabouts. In Phase 3, a draft plan was prepared and released, which included a total of 4 roundabouts. The plan being presented today recommends 1 roundabout at Miller Road, representing a compromise solution among stakeholders. The effect of various intersection controls on emergency response and evacuation throughout the corridor was a key point of concern among stakeholders. In response, the 4th phase of the project considered 3 new plan options that were evaluated in the emergency response analysis and evacuation report. The plan under consideration today is consistent with the final recommendation of the Valley Center Community Planning Group.
Throughout the development of the plan, the project team collaborated with public safety professionals, including representatives from the Valley Center Fire Protection District, the San Diego County Fire Protection District, the California Highway Patrol, and the county sheriff. Public safety input was critical in developing the 2023 plan options that led to the draft final plan under consideration today. Chief Napier from the Valley Center Fire Protection District collaborated closely with the project team and consultants on the development of a supplemental study and report on emergency response and evacuation, known as the Citygate Report. The report concludes that traffic from the growth of the community will require more intersection controls, and the proposed plan features, including a roundabout, would not hinder emergency response or evacuation. In support of public safety objectives, the draft final plan includes a strategically placed mountable median section for the public safety personnel as an emergency turnaround and speed monitoring location. No concerns with the adoption of the draft final plan have been expressed by public safety agencies. Now we'll provide an overview of key plan components and how they address public input. As an intersection control, a roundabout is planned at the intersection of Valley Center Road and Miller Road in the North Village. Reasons for a roundabout here include the value of roundabouts and traffic calming to help reduce speeding and to reduce the worst types of injury collisions, and in response to the traffic analysis showing a roundabout will reduce delay more than a signal. Stakeholders, including the CPG, considered various roundabout options, including alternatives with 4, 2, and no roundabouts for the corridor. The plan under consideration today is a compromise solution with 1 roundabout at Miller Road. To improve intersection safety conditions, the plan also includes new signals at the intersections of Valley Center Road with Old Road and with Sunday Drive. The plan includes curb extensions, known as bulb outs, at all existing and proposed signalized intersections. Curb extensions have the value in addressing multiple stakeholder concerns, including reducing speeding and improving pedestrian safety by reducing the crossing distance for pedestrians. Consistent with the general plan, the draft final plan calls for extending the raised median throughout the corridor with openings limited to signal or roundabout controlled intersections. Raised medians address safety concerns associated with challenging left turns from two-way stop-controlled side streets and reduce the likelihood of illegal maneuvers such as passing in the center lane. As mentioned earlier, in response to the CHP's preference for a speed monitoring location in the South Village, the draft plan also includes a section of mountable median. The section also serves as an emergency turnaround for public safety vehicles. This slide highlights bicycle and pedestrian improvements. A Class 4 bikeway is planned consistent with the general plan mobility element. To increase safety, this type of bike lane includes a buffer and physical separation. For pedestrians, the plan calls for maintaining the Heritage Trail pathway on the north and west sides of the corridor and completing the sidewalk network on the east and south sides. A controlled pedestrian crossing is planned at the South Village at Reinhardt Lane to ensure pedestrians won't have to walk more than a quarter mile between crossings within the villages. If adopted, the requirements of the plan would be incorporated into the county regulatory code by ordinance. Within the plan area, the requirements of the plan would then supplement and supersede the county public road standards. Chapter 2 of the plan provides detailed requirements for future public and private projects. The corridor plan is a long-term plan. Implementation will be an incremental process as funding becomes. Implementation is anticipated to occur through a combination of county-initiated projects supported by grants and through private development conditioning requirements and contributions. Various grant opportunities are available to support next steps to implement improvements included in the plan. Adopting the plan will support efforts to pursue grant funding for implementation. On February 12, 2024, the Valley Center Community Planning Group considered several options for the plan and settled on recommending a compromise solution with 1 roundabout. The CPG voted to recommend 2023 Option A with 1 revision to remove a second roundabout at the Woods Valley intersection. Today's recommendation was prepared to be consistent with the CPG's recommendation. Staff recommends the board find the proposed project complies with the California Environmental Quality Act, state and county CEQA guidelines, and approve the introduction of the ordinance to integrate Valley Center Road Corridor Concept Plan into the county regulatory code of regulatory ordinances. If the board takes action today, then on March 12, 2025, staff recommends the board adopt the Valley Center Road Corridor Concept Plan and adopt the ordinance. This concludes staff's presentations. We're available to answer any questions.
Before we turn to public comment, do any of my colleagues have any questions? Okay, so we have an individual here, Dory from the Valley Center Corridor Planning Group, from the Valley Center Planning Group. Dory, you get to go first because you're representing a planning group. So generally, planning group presentations receive 5 minutes. You don't need to take it all, but you have it.
Great, thank you. Appreciate time. Thank you for everybody coming out. Great topic. We appreciate any attention we get in Valley Center, but on behalf of the Valley Center Planning Group, I'm Dory Rattray. I am the current chair. I received the nomination and the acceptance of the position this month. On February 12th, as you just heard, the Valley Center Community Planning Group voted to approve the corridor concept plan in its state as position A, which included 1 roundabout at Miller Road and Valley Center Road. I think one of the things that I also have to wear a second hat, and Ryan and I talked about this earlier, I also have an opinion about the plan. I am on the board, but I do have a personal opinion because I'm a concerned member of Valley Center. My family we have multiple family members in Valley Center, and we own approximately, represent over 200 acres in Valley Center. So it's a sizable amount in various places of Valley Center. So the corridor concept plan in its current state I don't feel is safe for Valley Center. Our number one concern in Valley Center is fire, as we obviously have frequently talked about this, and evacuation routes. We really need additional evacuation routes. If we could spend the money in that would be a huge addition to our community. And we're working on that with Escondido. But that's our number one concern since we're in a very high fire hazard severity zone. On July 13th, a poll was conducted in our local paper and 742 residents responded. 77% voted for traffic signals. We only need one spot, which is Miller Road, which you brought up, and it would be an inexpensive way to implement a calming measure, not a roundabout. Adding a roundabout through this pass-through, which you mentioned too, is a pass-through community. We have non-residents that drive through to 4 different casinos, the desert to Julian to various parts of the community out towards our unincorporated area. And so it's not logical for us. Last week, Encinitas, I think you probably heard in the paper that they reported they had 19 accidents in 18 months in a coast highway roundabout. In Arizona, it's home to 80 roundabouts, and in 4 years in Maricopa County, they experienced 411 accidents in roundabouts. Since the concern is reducing accidents and slowing traffic, a light would be sufficient, less expensive, and honestly, it's really quick to implement. We just got one at Mira de Valle. Ridge Ranch is going in. It's a fraction of the cost. And if you're looking at where we are as a deficit right now, it is a fraction of the cost. Our roads are flooded with large vehicles, agricultural vehicles, animal trailers, off-road vehicles, and our community is growing. With the North Valley Village potentially bringing in 650 homes, we're going to have a lot more people on the road. And we're looking at retirees moving in a retirement community in that area. So picture this, if you will. You can see casino traffic at 24 hours a day, agricultural traffic, and retirees in that roundabout. Common sense would not place a roundabout in the middle of our town. It's smack dab in the middle. So that means it's cutting off. If there's an emergency or evacuation or a fire, you're cutting off our community in half. You won't be able to get around it if there's congestion in that. I think the LA fires have taught us a lot. They taught us that fire breaks out, if it does, traffic congestion occurs if it does occur in a roundabout, people will leave their vehicles and flee and run. But to where? We're in Valley Center, it's rural. So they'll be trapped. Do the math. We just save us and save your money and choose a traffic light for our community. It's really imperative that you look at this. I know there's a plan. I know you're gonna hear a lot of the community members talk about this, but I'm looking at it from a safety perspective and an evacuation perspective. And I think everything we've seen on the news with LA, we've learned a lot from that. We should process that and take that into account. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Lawson. We do have 20 total requests to speak, 11 individuals in person and 9 requesting to speak by phone. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 35 e-comments on this item. 24 were in favor, 6 were in opposition, and 3 were neutral. For any individuals that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial in to the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. Those that are in favor, as your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak. I'll be calling individuals in groups of 3. Pursuant to the board's rules, since there is 20 or more speakers, you will have 1 minute to address the board. If you could please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward Patrick Malloy, Karen Lieber, and Steve Hutchinson.
Hi, again. My name is Patrick Malloy. I live in Valley Center. I live right off of that road corridor plan that you've been hearing about. I live near the south part of that plan. I'm a big proponent of these roundabouts, and in fact, in phase 3, when there were 4 introduced, I thought that was a better idea. I understand that this board has the ability to supersede other decisions or to take on its own recommendation, doing more than just one roundabout, and to go and to pave the way for, pun intended, to pave the way for more roundabouts. I think that'd be a good idea. They work in conjunction with our law enforcement, who's doing the best they can with the resources that they have. But the traffic roundabouts help to calm traffic, keep it flowing, and they do work with evacuations quite well, as been noted in your Citygate report. Also, they help bring on new business. I think I'm running out of time here, so I'll say thank you very much, and please vote for all 4 roundabouts. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karen Lieber, and I've been a resident of Valley Center for 10 years and a member of the Valley Center Community Planning Group. And I hope to see the current proposed plan as projected to go through, but I would like to see more roundabouts in the future. Due to evacuation efficiency, Valley Center Road is crucial for residents during an evacuation. The roundabouts would ensure traffic flow. Traffic management, roundabouts effectively manage high traffic volumes, especially during peak hours. This will reduce the backup at Colgrade Road, Lilac, and at Woods Valley. It's imperative Woods Valley gets a roundabout sooner or later. Power outages. In the event of a power outage, roundabouts can maintain traffic flow without needing police intervention and ensuring continuous movement. And safety improvements. Roundabouts have been shown to reduce the likelihood of severe collisions by 75%, which is a significant number. Thank you.
As the next speaker is coming up, I'll call the next 3 speakers: Mary Hodson, Kevin Smith, and Al, I believe it's Stelly.
Staley.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Hutchison. The Valley Center Road Corridor Concept Plan has been years in the making. The county's Planning and Development Services Department, in conjunction with Valley Center Community Planning Group, has conducted numerous community planning sessions and meetings that have captured the concerns and ideas of the public for improved safety of vehicles, cyclists, and pedestrians through the Valley Center commercial districts. A key concern is the current excessive speeds of vehicles along the corridor. The concept plan addresses this issue with a number of features, such as raised center medians, as you've heard, curb extensions at intersections, segregated bicycle lanes, additional traffic light controlled intersections, and a roundabout. There is significant evidence that all of these features will contribute to moderating the speeds within the corridor. The single roundabout in the plan will be an example of how these features can not only moderate excessive speeds safely, but also keep traffic moving continuously. I ask the board to approve the concept plan and to move the plan forward, and please authorize a preliminary engineering report.
Thank you, sir.
To secure the space needed.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
My name is Mary Hodson. I'm a Valley Center resident and a member of the Valley Center Community Planning Group. I won't waste time reiterating the many concerns and tragedies of Valley Center roads. I will, however, remind you that this plan is the answer that residents of our community have been begging for. It will give us safer evacuations, safer everyday transport, and improved emergency response times. Today, you have the opportunity to vote in favor of this plan, which is evidence-based, well-researched, and will make Valley Center roads safer for first responders, drivers, bicyclists, pedestrians, and equestrians alike. This includes voting to reinstate the additional roundabouts at Woods Valley and Colgrade roads, which are arguably where it's needed the most. Opposition to this safe and effective plan would have you believe that it isn't country enough, but less stoplights and calmer traffic meet the rural aesthetic of our community. I beg you to vote in favor of safety and in favor of this plan.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Smith. I ask you to support the corridor concept plan as approved by the planning group in 2024. I was a planning group member for the prior 6 years and intimately involved with developing the corridor plan. At the first community meeting, there was overwhelming support for multiple roundabouts. Objections were later raised by a vocal minority, and the county planners then opened all options, and over time, the number of roundabouts was decreased as compromises were sought. Despite that, most objectors refused any compromise and continued to demand 0 roundabouts. When carefully considered, objectors have arguments that are emotionally based. I fully respect those strong emotions, and as a Planning Group member, I labored to accommodate those personal concerns, but they are not wrong, but in this case, they are not supported by the facts. We cannot let emotions override the true safety advantages of roundabouts. Thank you. And I want to express my appreciation to PDS and traffic for their years of dedication to this.
Thank you, and I'll call the final two speakers in favor, Pamela, I believe it's Olay, and Rick Restivo.
Good morning, my name's Al Staley. I've been a resident in Valley Center since 1962. I saw the first stop sign installed. I saw Lilac Road paved from dirt to pavement. So I've seen a lot of change, and I think this is another good one. I'm in favor of the roundabout. I'm in favor of the traffic calming and the safety implications of this plan. I urge you to add back the roundabouts that were removed, but the least thing you can do is approve this plan, and I came to speak in favor of it, and thank you.
Yes, hello. My name is Pamela Willett. Thank you, board members, for hearing me today. I worked for the County Assessor's Office for 20 years in the appeals section, then as an appraiser. The concern I'm representing today is about Valley Center's horrific car accident problem we've had for years. In 2010, my son was a junior in high school. I did not send him to Valley Center High School because I did not want him driving the unsafe roads in Valley Center. So I requested an out-of-district transfer to go to another district school. I attended meetings in Valley Center to address my concerns over the years, but my voice was not heard by the Valley Center Board. My suggestions were those of the same from the studies recommended by the county, which were to install 4 roundabouts. Roundabouts are considered safer and more efficient at managing traffic flow, reducing the number of collisions, especially head-on collisions. In 2023, I interviewed the City of Vista Fire Station 3, who drive through roundabouts daily, and they reported maneuvering through the 3 roundabouts on Santa Fe Road, even with a large ladder fire trucks. They have no problems.
Thank you, ma'am.
Darn.
Good morning, Rick Restivo. I'm a longtime resident of Valley Center and owner of Valley Center Insurance. It's a property that is between Mirar de Valle and Charlin Road on Valley Center Road. My concern is I'm a proponent of the whole project. We've seen multiple accidents on Valley Center Road since we've been there at Valley Center Insurance Agency. My concern is regarding a left-hand turn access onto Charlin Road. Right now, none of the properties or businesses that are on Valley Center Road have access from northbound. So there's no southbound exit onto Charlin Road or any of the buildings that are there. Right now, the way the plan is set up, anybody that would like to see my property or the store or any other business on Valley Center Road has to go down to Woods Valley, make a U-turn, and come back up. I would love to see you guys take exception to this and put some sort of an option in so that we can get to our businesses and to all those properties on Charlin Road.
Thank you, sir. We'll now call the speakers in opposition, Gabe Sanchez and Tom Stinson.
Good morning, everybody. Gabe Sanchez. I'm going to have to flat out say it. I agree with Dory's assessment. I've been a longtime resident of Valley Center, 26 years, and in that time, I've seen the city grow from very small to quite large. That being stated, I've lived through 2 fire evacuations, 2002, 2007. The roads were overwhelmed, to put it mildly. We have 800 new homes in Valley Center with an additional 650 proposed north of Miller. Miller Road is a highway that we see speeds in excess of 70 miles an hour. Roundabouts, while effective in low volume, lower speed traffic areas, are not designed for semi-trucks, high volume, high speed. I realize what the idea is to, slow the traffic down, but it is not an effective way to do it on that stretch of road right there. Thank you.
Good morning, Tom Stinson, longtime Valley Center resident and a new member of the planning group, but I'm speaking here as a private citizen. I have some questions about the bike path. It's in terms of major destination or employment center, it seems to be a bike path that goes from nowhere to nowhere. If you know Valley Center, you know that any way into Valley Center, you're going up a very, very long, miles long, very steep grade. So I don't see people using this bike path as a means to get out of their cars. I don't see them using it recreationally as going 2 miles from Cold Grade to Woods Valley and back and forth on your bike. I don't know, it doesn't seem like a whole lot of fun to me. I just don't see the need for it. It's going to narrow the traffic lanes, it's going to cost money, and I think it'll be used by a minute % of the population. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I would again like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
All abold. That this is only a concept plan or there's no real plan is a major giveaway that it needs work before it is approved. Words do matter. Do not waste our money on another half-baked idea. The plan is to enhance 2.5 miles along one road, one commercial area, while ignoring the others and the need for improved evacuation for those who don't live nearby. Funding is from public and private sources, many of whom you have little control over, and they may run out of money before you do. The project may never, in fact, be completed. Expanded sidewalk area and a roundabout means less room for emergency evac. So much for safety. A dental clinic only 250 feet or less from the proposed corridor wrote to you about not knowing how the project would affect the clinic. I don't know.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hi, this is Z. Riken. I'm a Valley Center resident, and I live over by Hellhole Canyon, which is the farthest east section of Valley Center. I agree with Dory's assessment. This plan is irresponsible, and it is extremely dangerous to our community. Over 77% of our community is opposed. Our number one concern is that we only have one road that is a safe evacuation route, and you will be cutting it in half by putting in a traffic circle. Not even just when the traffic circle is within, but that entire corridor being ripped up and the years of construction is extremely dangerous to our community. Putting in a light at Villa Road would save lives immediately, and that's the point. It's not beautifying the neighborhood, it's not gentrifying the neighborhood, it's saving lives. So let's put the lights in, let's slow down the traffic by doing that, and let's stop this entire plan. It is ridiculous, and Valley Center is opposed.
Thank you.
The other thing to keep in mind is that...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hi, this is Mike O'Connor. I live in Valley Center for 32 plus years. I've been on the fire board and I've been on the planning board. I agree with this plan. I think it's something that's long overdue in Valley Center. Valley Center needs to wake up and feel that roundabout is about the future, slowing it down. I don't think it's going to stop people from evacuating. I think it's going to help. It's going to be some kind of direction for people. And when power outages come, lights are a mess. We need to wake up in Valley Center and finally smell the roses. People are driving here through too fast, and people are getting hurt. I think that we should have a roundabout at Woods Valley and at Cold Grade. That's where the most of the traffic is coming in, and that's where they speed up. It's about time, and it's not about, don't be putting up this thing, it's about fire safety. And nothing happened in LA that had to do with roundabouts. It was congestion. We need to wake up, Valley Center. It's about time. We've got more people moving here than ever, and it's time to finally...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Consuelo. So the studies recommended by the county
say no more. People, you better start paying attention. This board better listen to the over 70% of people that actually live there. Roundabouts wreak more havoc than safety. They're a total nuisance, not to mention the constant damage they cause to a car's alignment. This is all by design. Listen up, people. The safety, always under the guise of safety. It's not about safety. It's about control. It's not about being efficient or effective or safety. It's about laying down the blueprint for the implementation of the United Nations agenda for the 21st century. You better wake up and smell the reality of big government, what it is in fact doing. You better not give up, people in Valley Center. There is something really wrong happening. It's a huge agenda, and people get hip to what's going on.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to the next speaker.
Hi, my name is Bob Littlejohn, and I'm a member of the Valley Center Community Planning Group and have lived here for over 7 years. Supervisor Desmond, I trust that you and your colleagues will act today to make Valley Center roads safer, more efficient, and country cool. Would roundabouts and other features of this plan detract from our rural character? Start with bike lanes. There are few riders today because it is unsafe, not because there are no riders. Center medians? With the right intersections and protected turn lanes, medians can look good and allow access to businesses. What reminds me most of suburbia, however, is one traffic light after another. Please do not be swayed by the invalid statistics that have been cited, and vote yes and consider an entry roundabout at Woods Valley and Colgrade Road as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Supervisors. This is John Vick. I've lived in Valley Center since 1998. It's critically important to our rural community to make Valley Center roads safer and more efficient, and not to destroy our rural character. The county's Valley Center Road Corridor Concept Plan that was approved by our planning group last February will accomplish this. I urge you to approve the county's plan as presented. In spite of some vocal opposition that ignores proven safety data, the planning group approved this plan. Of the 35 e-comments sent in, 7 are in opposition, 3 are neutral, and 25 or 71% are in support of the plan. All of the data supports the increased safety of roundabouts. I also request that the preliminary engineering for the Miller Road roundabout be prioritized so that the available right-of-way can be ascertained before there is more development in the area. And lastly, I ask you to please seriously consider adding a roundabout at the Woods Valley.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
That the powers that shouldn't be are always having the people go into a conflict with each other so they can't see exactly what's being implemented. It's a 15-minute city. It's the United Nations Agenda 21, 2030, 2050. And if you don't implement it, then you won't get grant funding. And they want you guys to fight against each other so that you'll fight to implement it, not understanding it's totally in place to control you guys. And if you think that it's going to make you safer by making it harder for you to get around, then you are very confused. And this is going to lead to some very massive issues when there is a fire and people can't get out. And then what are you guys going to go and be at each other's necks because one wanted the roundabout, one didn't. One wanted the stoplight, one didn't. It's very sad to see that nobody understands what's truly going on, and they shouldn't be using money to try and incentivize the implementation of such dangerous policies that are literally set out to make sure that you can't get anywhere. And especially in the incorporated area, they want those places.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Desmond.
Well, thanks. I have a couple of questions and then some comments. I'd like to ask staff, we're hearing a lot about safety and evacuations and things like that. And I know Chief Napier's here, and I'm going to ask him to come up here in a second to answer a couple of questions. But and nobody's here, I don't see anybody from the sheriffs or the CHP. Did you have any input from either of those entities about this concept plan being unsafe or unmanageable?
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond, through the chair. Yes, we've been working closely with the sheriffs, the County Fire Protection District, as well as the Valley Center Fire Protection District on the overall plan and the components of the plan. You know, after several public meetings, we heard concerns about impacts to emergency response.
Well, I'm specifically asking about the sheriffs and/or the California Highway Patrol.
Yes, we've
are they positive, negative? They think it'll work? What?
They worked with us on the study that was conducted. They agreed with the findings of the study that the components within the plan do not negatively impact evacuation or emergency response.
Okay, in a negative way.
In a negative way. Yeah.
So, Chief Napier, can you come up and same question, but for fire? Do you feel that this road or the proposal, what the planning group voted on, is safe and manageable in a fire?
Absolutely. Again, Joe Napier, Valley Center Fire Chief. First of all, I want to say that this process has been probably the most collaborative process that I've been involved in my entire 39-year career with the fire service. And that's to the leadership of your team that was charged with this. And they brought in the CHP. They brought in the Sheriff's Department and myself. We met. We looked at a wide variety of different designs that included 4 roundabouts, included 2 roundabouts. We brought in a company to perform a statistical study and computer modeling, City Gate and Associates. We looked at all of that collectively from a public safety and a public protection lens. And my recommendation is to go with staff considering myself as a part of this team, the Sheriff's Department and CHP as a part of your team. I would go with your staff recommendation and go with the concept plan as it's written with a single roundabout and all of the other accoutrements that go with calming traffic in that corridor of 2.4 miles, 2.2 miles.
All right.
Any other questions? I'm here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So if I could make some comments, thanks for all the staff work on this, and I appreciate everybody weighing in. And it doesn't seem to be consensus, but I think I think the planning group hit the middle ground. So staff had 78 public meetings. I think if we had 78 more, we'd be in the same place. So 78 public meetings on various forums, including the community planning group, subcommittee meetings, public workshops, and also meeting with the tribes and the tribal communities. I understand that there was 3 votes taken before you finally got to a recommendation. I guess the first 2 votes were with 0 roundabouts, and that failed. And so the 3rd vote was with 1 roundabout, and that passed, and it was 9-6. So it wasn't unanimous, but I understand there's still concerns. But I think what's being brought forward today really reflects the community's input. It could be up to us to add a couple more here or there, but this is what the community came up with. I think this is a middle ground, and this has been in work for the past 8 years. And I know some people are 0 roundabouts. I met Steve in the stairway coming out of the parking lot this morning, and I said, "What side are you on? No roundabouts or all roundabouts?" And I think you were an all roundabout guy. But I think what the plan that's before us came out of the formal community input process. It's highlighted by a recommendation by the Valley Center Planning Group to approve the 1 roundabout at Miller Road. And, something needs to be done with Valley Center Road connecting the villages, the 2 villages. I know the bike lane may not seem appropriate, but have the understanding the Heritage Trail, horses are going to be, I'm just looking for nodding heads, horses can be on the Heritage Trail as well. And I can't tell you how many emails and phone calls I've got over the past few years about people speeding on Valley Center Road. And Then I get phone calls about, hey, I got a speeding ticket. So it seems, this plan includes many of the elements to reduce the speeding and put in some traffic calming, be it one roundabout or more. So I'd like to see this plan move forward. And with the recommendation of the planning group being in work for many, many years, and quite honestly, this plan could be amended later. This is going to go in phases. It could be amended later. It's probably going to be costly, not easy to do, but I'm going to recommend the staff's approval and make a motion for staff's recommendation for the community plan, the corridor plan that was approved by the Valley Center Community Planning Group 9-0. So my recommendation is to approve staff's recommendation. My motion is to approve staff's recommendation.
Any other comments from any of my colleagues? I just wanted to say I was very impressed with the work of how much consultation has gone on. Obviously, there's not consensus, but I do think there was a lot of listening and a lot of effort to find a path that makes sense for everyone. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone who's participated. I appreciate everyone who's here, who's taken that time to participate. I'll be supporting my colleague's motion today. I want to acknowledge that if it's not proceeding the way that we hope, it's not all set in stone, but I would like to be deferential to all the work that's been done with all the consultations. So thank you. So I'll second that. Okay. If there's no further comments, we can take a vote.
Thank you. And again, we'll be doing a voice vote. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Yes.
Supervisor Desmond.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you all so much. We now will turn to item G, which is the continuation of non-agenda public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 9 total requests. 9 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. Those are all coming via phone. So for those that have requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we'll go ahead and give you a moment to do so. All right, we will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll go ahead and begin with our first caller. First caller is John. You may need to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. My name is John Bodorf with CleanEarthForKids.org. You must not renew the county's land lease with West Coast tomato growers. My wife and I had to sell and move from our home because of their pesticides. We had the means to leave, but it breaks our hearts knowing that our friends and neighbors are still there being poisoned by West Coast tomato growers. That is public land being exploited for profit, poisoning nearby residents and wildlife. This is a misuse of public lands and a betrayal of public trust. You must stop leasing land to West Coast tomato growers. Since 2016, over 70% of the pesticides used by West Coast tomato growers have active ingredients banned in other countries because of the harm they do to human health and the environment. These toxic pesticides cause things like pediatric cancer, breast cancer, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, epilepsy, ALS, Parkinson's, and birth defects. The list of harms goes on and on. Legal does not mean safe. This land is right next to the San Luis Rey River, so all these pesticides run into that river, polluting our drinking water, the ocean, and surrounding ecosystems. The San Luis Rey River supports critical habitats for multiple species of concern. Leasing this parkland to West Coast tomato growers will violate the county's MSCP program. The decisions you make today affect our children's health and future. Please protect children and the environment and do not renew the land lease to West Coast tomato growers. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Megan Stewart, and I would like to encourage you all to reconsider the impact of marijuana commercialization on our county. When commercialization efforts began, San Diegans were promised economic benefits, safer communities, and social justice. But over time, the reality tells a very different story. Permitted products have led to higher addiction rates, increased crime, and a thriving black market. Another major issue is the approval of cannabis production facilities and of marijuana consumption lounges within multi-tenant commercial buildings and areas. A recent Gallup poll found that 54% of Americans believe marijuana has a negative impact on society, and for good reason. These facilities introduce serious public health risks, safety concerns, and an undeniable strain on our communities. The odor, the security threats, and the effect on surrounding businesses aren't just inconveniences. They are real problems that disrupt the character and well-being of our neighborhoods. Approval of these facilities and shared spaces are not just about business expansion, but about the long-term effect on the people who live and work here. We must prioritize community health and safety over corporate interests. And this board has the power to do so by making decisions that protect our neighborhoods and reflect the values we want to uphold. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hello, my name is Rusty Shack-Hilford, D3 resident. Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remmer, I have witnessed you attempt to counter the Los Angeles Alliance for the Defense of Animals president, Zora Fahim's video evidence of the abuse of horses. She has shown that there are horses in inexcusable conditions. Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remmer has stated that the district attorney, Summer Steffen, is investigating the condition or situation of Deborah Barkley and Craig Netwig's dogs. And also that the Department of Animal Services have finally removed one dog out of maybe 12 dogs. But how is that relevant to the conditions or situations of the Artesian Road horses? From what I understand, they are currently still suffering on a ranch with broken fences, with unhygienic food sanitary conditions, and unmonitored drinking water levels for the horses. Why has there been a denial of the evidence? Why has District Attorney Summer Steffen taken no action? Why do supervisors like Tara say they're only monitoring the neglect and abuse? Why do the supervisors allow animal cruelty cases to happen under their watch? This is unacceptable and must promptly end. Thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hello, and thank you. Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Suzanne Hume. I'm the Educational Director and founder of CleanEarth4Kids.org, and I was poisoned by pesticides at West Coast Tomato Growers in Oceanside. So West Coast Tomato Growers is using toxic pesticides banned in other countries. The County of San Diego is actively making people sick and continuing to do so. This is a misuse of our taxpayer land. I have been asking the Board of Supervisors for 9 years and waited and waited and waited. I have been asking, along with neighbors living there and others, to ask you to please stop leasing to West Coast Tomato Growers. It's our taxpayer land. They're using toxic pesticides known to cause cancer, lung, heart, and brain and neurological diseases, inflammatory diseases, kidney and liver disease, and pesticides that cause psychiatric symptoms such as anxiety, sadness, restlessness, increased depression. Pesticides causing reproductive disorders, pediatric cancer, learning and developmental disorders, epilepsy, diabetes, thyroid dysfunction, endocrine disruptors, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, ALS, breast cancer, asthma, COPD, chronic bronchitis, asthma, and it goes on and on. Lupus, can't forget about that, rheumatoid arthritis. So we have a document that is currently in landscape, and it is over 125 pages listing the pesticide reports from 2016, the public health harms, and PFAS are in these pesticides as well.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is Ann Riddle. I called in to continue my concerns regarding the environmental impact report that is out from the county regarding establishing marijuana businesses out here. I had an opportunity to speak to one of the issues, impaired driving, that is not on the environmental report. And impaired driving is a real concern. Marijuana impaired driving is a real concern out here on our roads. But there are a couple of others that the environmental report doesn't speak to. One is the quality of life and pride in the community. And I'd like to share with you some quotes from my granddaughter regarding that situation. She lives in East Vista, has a Vista zip code, but she actually lives in the unincorporated area of the county. And she's been comparing Vista with Carlsbad. And she's mentioned that Carlsbad doesn't have any pot shops, and certainly would never have special events that would feature smoking and vaping pot as some sort of centerpiece of an activity. And her comment is that teens just want to be their best version of themselves. And when they have to come and go from school or practices, because she is very athletic and she's on the ASB, when they with their friends, she feels it's really unfortunate that they have to see pot stores, and really unfortunate that there are billboards already out here in the unincorporated area. And she doesn't understand why she should have to grow up in a place that she doesn't feel proud about. And that quality of life means a lot to her, her friends, and her family. I think it's unfortunate when our young people realize that where they live, the people in charge of them making decisions don't recognize how much our young people are affected by the environment around them. And that would be it.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning.
Okay, that concludes our business before the board. Today's adjournment will be presented by Supervisor Anderson in memory of Rebecca Marodi. Supervisor Anderson?
Yes, thank you very much. Give me just a half second here. I'm having to fiddle around. Good morning, everyone. It's with a saddened heart, I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of Fire Captain Rebecca Marodi, a woman who dedicated her 30 years of her life to fire service. Born on June 14th, 1975, Captain Marodi began her career in 1993 as a volunteer firefighter in Moreno Valley and worked as a seasonal firefighter before joining the department full-time in 2000. Captain Marodi was known for her bravery, dedication, and unwavering commitment to helping others. She most recently demonstrated these qualities while battling the East End fire in Los Angeles County, where she faced treacherous conditions to protect others. Throughout her distinguished career, Captain Rebecca Marodi held assignments at various stations, including the Emergency Command Center in Paris, North Rancho Mirage Station 69, and Menifee Station 68. She was a hero not only to her community of Ramona, but also throughout our great state. Beyond her professional achievements, Captain Marody was celebrated for her compassion and uplifting support of her peers. She was an integral member of the CAL FIRE peer support team, often traveling to different stations to ensure the well-being of her fellow firefighters. Captain Marody's leadership and mentorship left a lasting impact on her colleagues in communities where she served. I know in Ramona, we're going to miss her, and I know throughout San Diego County, we're going to miss her. Captain Rebecca Marody will also be deeply missed by her family, friends, and colleagues that she leaves behind. Her legacy will continue to inspire future generations to follow in her footsteps and selflessly serve their communities. Today, we express our deepest sympathies at her passing, and by this adjournment, memorize her lifetime of contributions to San Diego County and our great state of California. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
The next regular meeting of the board will take place on March 11th.